Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, because you end up in these scenarios where most of the people around you, A, are not Jewish, but B, certainly don't know what Yiddish is. So it is a little bit bizarre, but I think that a lot of people ended up taking a lot of interest in it. It just is, by its nature, a different kind of project. I mean, people in general, this is not Los Angeles where people are skeptical every time someone wants to shoot, and then it's like, okay, how much are you going to pay me to be in this location? Here, it's a lot more like, oh, this is really interesting. You have a film project. Let's hear a little bit about it. And then, explaining some of the cultural background. Oh, that's very interesting. So that was neat, especially when we were in various French Canadian places, because it's always an interesting conversation. Conversations that normally are not had. In general, I mean, Jamie and I don't have French Canadian friends for the most part, so we don't have these conversations. So it was fun to be able to use the premise of the shoot to actually have this form of interaction. And in general, the vibe that we got was very, very positive. So it's interesting. It's interesting to come into a place and speak a language that no one's heard, often very loudly, and it gets people to turn a lot of heads. But I don't know. It's been a very positive experience bringing the sounds of that language into these different places.
We had a French Canadian director of photography for our last episode, and we're walking down Sherbrooke Street West in front of sort of certain iconic Montreal landmarks, the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts, and we're having this whole conversation which goes between Yiddish and English, and we gave him the script so he could read it obviously in English, but there was something, and this has happened in other episodes we've done too, that made us kind of giddy, I think, about we're performing it in Yiddish. We know that they're listening to it and don't understand what we're saying, but they've read it so they get the gist of it. Can they really follow along with exactly which line we're on, and if we sort of throw in little, improv-y type of things, but pretty much across the board, everyone gets into it as it sounds funny and it looks engaging, and then if they cross-reference with what they know the script says, they become invested in it. And I think pretty much across the board, they've all realized that this is good for Anglophones and Francophones to work together, Jews and non-Jews to work together, and we can all, have a good laugh, hopefully, at all the same things, namely this guy.
Yeah. But it's interesting because Yiddish is kind of like the bridge language between the two, what's called the two solitudes, the English and the French. And the ability, it's almost like we are the market makers or the middlemen, or the way that we can bring these two groups together as being sort of the objective outsiders. And the linguistic analogy is, yeah, everyone can appreciate, they both don't know what Yiddish is, and they both find it funny from a distance. And there's the story that they both are learning from hearing the language. And there's also, I mean, there's more to be said about the role of Yiddish in Montreal, the whole experience of everybody that came here from overseas, and the contributions of the Jewish community here. And, in some cases, not that many people know about that. The reality is, I think Jamie was getting into this earlier, but when most people in this city, in this province, think about Jews, they think of Hasidim. They don't realize certain, left-wing leaders, very left-wing leaders, came out of the Jewish community here. They may or may not recognize Mordechai Wexler or Leonard Cohen or characters like that as coming out of here and being part of that community, but
or the very fabric of the plateau and St. Lawrence Boulevard and the culinary culture, the smoked meat culture, the bagel culture, which is part of Montreal fabric, is Jewish-based. And the clothing, the schmata business, and for that matter, including in the modern city of Montreal, the lawyers and the accountants and the Jewish General Hospital. I mean, there's a true Jewish, serious Jewish element in the fabric of the city and what the city looks like today. It's there's no question.
The fabric of the city is a schmata.
It's a giant grease, chicken fat smeared schmata. Here's an example of it.
Oh God.
And we are products of it too, and so we are descendants of all that stuff, and it kind of had to be here. Yeah, we could, like you said, we could do the characters elsewhere, but but Montreal has informed us in a way as much as being Jews in terms of, I think, our personas as adults. And I've been living in the States for 16 years, and I still call myself a Montrealer. There's a certain joie de vivre, and also this mix of languages and cultures, which you don't really find anywhere else in North America the way you see it here.